your host, Antonio. What you do for yourself depends on what you think of yourself. And what you think of yourself depends on what you know for yourself. And what you know for yourself depends on what you've been told to yourself. Welcome to the show. Got a great show for you today. Guess what, people? Guess what, people? Tomorrow is the Sankofa Juneteenth ball at the Mediterranean Party Center. Come on out, guys, and let's end the month of Juneteenth with a bang. Come on out in your regalia, dressed in your queendom and your kingdom, and let's show out a little bit and celebrate. You know, we got a lot of things to be thankful for, and a lot of things going on in the country and on the planet. So let's do it. Let's camaraderie. Let's come together and and worship and celebrate in our ancestorship. We're gonna have some African food there. You get a chance to taste it. Some African drumming. So come on out to it's a nice place at the Mediterranean Party Center on Rockside Road. You can give me a call, 216-323-6155, 216-323-6155. Give me a call. Come on out there. Tomorrow is the day. Come on out. I'll be making a few announcements on some things that's going on with me and moving forward. And so I would love to have you there. And I appreciate all you folks who's been, working with us and coming out to these programs. So let's continue to do that. In the remote studio, we got our good brother, Vince. Vince, what's going on?
Well, just like you, there's a lot going on this end of things, and everyone is looking forward to that magnificent ball that will take place tomorrow evening. Just want to put you on game about what's going on at Larchmere Arts. So next Saturday, we are going to have a magnificent poet. Her name is Vish, Irie Vish. She's going to do her feature piece. And then the following weekend, we are going to have the Larchmere Cultural Arts Festival. So I want everyone to be aware of this. Facebook does what it does to force you to spend money to advertise things. So we're doing this word of mouth, social media, public media. But we want you to know that we've got a whole slate of activities planned for that weekend. We're going to kick things off with an art exhibition at Unbar. It's going to feature the work of maybe 6 or 7 of Cleveland's most prominent artists. And then we're going to have a performance of spoken word by Dr. Mary Weems. And I'm going to help her out a little bit with some music and some of my own poetry. So we're going to have an evening of music and spoken word at Larchmere Arts. On the second day, which is Saturday the 12th, we're going to kick things off with an African drumming class at Kings and Queens of Culture. We're going to come back to Larchmere Arts, and we're going to have a writer's workshop by Nicole D. Miller. So if you've never been published, you're interested in having your work published, you can come to that workshop. It's included in the cost of the festival. Then we are going to have a shorts film festival, and it's going to feature the works of Dr. Weems, Terrence Spivey, Michael Oatman, Wayne Smith, Jefferson Jones, and myself. We have some short films that will be featured in this shorts festival. And then the coup de grace for Saturday will be a poetry slam that will be curated by Literary Cleveland that will take place on the Larchmere Arts stage. On Sunday, we're going to have a gallery crawl between 3 places, Unbar, Adune Spice, and Larchmere Arts. And then we're going to have an ekphrastic event at Larchmere Arts where people will be able to see the artwork that's been done by Bonnie Venable and Rodney Carpenter, and they will write poetry based on what they see and then share their poems with the audience. That is going to be followed by a digital photography exhibition at Unbar, and we're going to feature Mr. Jeff Lawson, who once upon a time was a photographer for Jet Magazine and Ebony Magazine. And then following that event, we are going to have a performance by Hugh People Vocal Ensemble. So it's a full festival. We hope that you will come through and take advantage of this great opportunity to experience culture that comes from our people. This is about us, for us, by us, unapologetically. So you have that to look forward to on July 11th through the 16th. I'll be putting up information so that you will be able to get your tickets. So that's it for that. We want to bring into the conversation 2 very distinguished individuals who are here to talk about something very special that they are going to be doing. We have Ms. Rhonda Crowder. She's the president of the Greater Cleveland Association of Black Journalists. And we have Mr. Grady Burrows, who is the Director of Programs for 100 Black Men of Greater Cleveland. These folks have teamed up to present to you a golf outing. It's going to be a fundraiser for both organizations. And if you didn't know by now, GCLEABJ is hosting the convention for the National Association of Black Journalists. It's going to take place from August 6th through the 10th right here in Cleveland. This is a big deal, y'all. This is a huge deal. And so these two organizations are collaborating to do this golf outing. It's going to be at Highland Park Golf Course, which has gone through some renovations. I haven't played it yet, but I understand that they are really doing a lot to improve that golf course. But we're going to talk about the convention. We'll talk about the outing. So with all of that, welcome Rhonda Crowder and Mr. Grady Burrows.
Good morning. Good morning. Excited to be here with you this morning.
Thank you. Thank you. Rhonda, we can't hear you, sis.
Thank you for having us.
Okay. All right. So why don't we start off by talking about where the idea came for you both organizations to come together and sponsor this event to support the convention and, of course, 100 Black Men. And Rhonda, you can go first.
Yeah, you can take that. Greater Cleveland Association of Black Journalists had an idea to do a golf outing prior to COVID. I started playing golf several years ago, took some lessons, and just became interested. I knew a number of our members played as well. Last year, Greg Lockhart, who is the president of 100 Black Men of Greater Cleveland, he's also a member of our organization and the chair of our fundraising committee. And so the idea came back up, and he was sharing that 100 was looking to have a golf outing as well. So we began to think, like, why have two golf outings? Let's just collaborate and do it together, show the art of coming together as one. And so Greg thought that was a great idea. We tried it out last year. It was a success, and we decided to come back and do it again this year.
Okay. All right. I didn't know you were a golfer, Rhonda.
I dibble.
Okay. All right. Well, Grady says the same thing. When we had our conversation yesterday, he said he gets out every once in a while, but golf outings are the perfect place to play golf because you get the benefit of the good golfers, the ones who really can hit it. Every once in a while, you get lucky and sink that 40-foot putt. So let's hope that when you're standing on the green on that Sunday morning, Grady, that happens for you.
Most definitely, Vince. And the thing about golf, it's a lifelong sport, so you can really go out there and have a lot of fun, have camaraderie. There's the folks who are competitive for sure, but even if you're a beginner, we want you to come out and have a good time fellowshipping with other people, with the community, and with people who are like-minded in a lot of our missions of what we're about. So we're going to have a whole host of activities, from putting skills to obviously the golf outing. There's going to be a fashion show. There's going to be a meal. So, worst case scenario, everybody eats. So even if you just eat, come on out and support us, and make sure you get your meal, because those meals do go towards our fundraising goal and obviously the event and the mission that we're trying to achieve. But it's going to be a day of fun. It's going to be a day of fellowship. And whether you're an individual or you have a foursome, we want you to come and sign up, because there's going to be a place for you to get in and to definitely experience what we're hoping is going to be a glorious day.
All right. So with a lot of golf outings, there are bragging rights that come from winning some of the games within the game. So can you give us an idea of what the contest will be within the golf outing?
Oh, most definitely. We'll have the usual sorts of activities and games, as far as awards for closest to the hole, longest drive. There'll be a number of different things that you can come out, and even if you don't win the match, you definitely can get in the winner's circle with making sure you participate and have a good chance of winning one of our other prizes that are associated with this golf outing.
Okay. And the big question is, will they walk away with a trophy?
Oh, we're gonna have some medal. We're gonna have some
Okay.
medal. There will be bragging rights as well as hardware to take home. So we'll have
And
something.
it's also important to know too, there's hardware for men and women.
Yes.
So we're encouraging the women to come out and play as well.
Okay. So I take that you will be out there swinging your clubs for the
I
outing
will
too.
be. Yes.
She's not gonna just be the president flexing. She's gonna be out there trying to get her closest to the hole. Okay.
Vince,
All right.
I'm playing because, like I said, I took lessons several years ago, but last year during our golf outing, that was my first time playing 18, going out on the course and playing 18 holes. So as Grady was saying, I think these golf outings are a perfect opportunity for beginners to get out and practice.
Okay. Well, it just so happens that Lynn Hampton is also a golfer. And he's one of those people that will have you scratching your head because he plays left-handed. He's not a right-handed golfer. So maybe we can coax Lynn to get out there on the links with us, and maybe he'll walk away with one of those trophies.
Yeah, I
I,
was just thinking about it.
yeah, I want to shift gears and talk about this convention because we were talking a little bit before the show. This is really a big deal. I mean, if we look back to the convention that occurred last year? That was an election year, and a certain person showed up at the convention and wreaked all kinds of havoc, and our good friend Roland Martin caused a little controversy with his remarks. Talk to us about how big this is in terms of being a deal, Rhonda.
This is a very big convention. We're expecting over 4,000 Black journalists to convene in Cleveland over through August 6th, from August 6th through August 10th. This is also the 50th anniversary of NABJ. It is not the 50th conference, but it is the 50th anniversary of the national organization. So I have also been told that 18 founders out of the 44 will be present at the conference, and that's the largest number of founders that will be in attendance at the conference at some time. So you're talking about Black journalists from TV, broadcast, radio, print, from across the country, some of the biggest names in journalism to the bylines that you see in print but never are able to put a face to, and it's really exciting. I like to liken it to HBCU homecoming.
Yes. And it's a 6-day 4-day conference. So obviously there are going to be a lot of things that take place during the conference. What are some of the topics that you'll be addressing as an organization?
So there are hundreds of workshops, panels, fireside chats, things like that. And a lot of it is craft, professional development to specific topics of the day. I have not seen the full slate of topics, of panels that should be coming out soon, because we do have to keep in mind that this is the national organization's event. They do all of the convention planning and that sort of thing, but members are able to submit for panels and workshops. So, it could be anything like I know that I'm moderating a panel about covering health disparities. So, something like that, to use of newest technology. There's the innovation bubble. What's also really big about this conference is the career fair. So you have a lot of young journalists who are coming there looking for their first job, to more seasoned journalists who might be looking for their next job. So it's a wide range of things, like, and even if you are not a journalist and just want to hang around journalists for a few days, I think it's also beneficial to people who are not journalists as well, because again, there's fireside chats, there's lunches, there's a Hall of Fame luncheon, there's the Salute to Excellence Gala, and those are all of the national organization's events. As the local chapter, this golf outing is our kickoff, part of our kickoff to the week. But we will also be hosting a meet and greet at the Cleveland Public Library on August 5th, the night before convention start. We'll also be hosting a Welcome to Cleveland party at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame on opening night, after opening ceremony and opening reception, and then cultural tours on Saturday, August 9th. And at the Rock Hall event, we're expecting that's opening night, so we're expecting a lot of conference attendees to be at that event. And I can also share too, I know that Karamu will be performing during opening ceremony, so there's a lot of you'll get a lot of local flair and a lot of national, and they're going to be celebrating their 50th anniversary as well.
Mm-hmm. So looking at what is planned for this event, can you talk about what happened in Chicago and what your experience was when you were there for that?
My main purpose in Chicago was to promote Cleveland. We had an activation on the convention floor with Destination Cleveland to talk about Cleveland. We also had to host a kickoff party the last night of the last full day of convention on the Saturday. So on the first day, that was when everybody learned that him who now occupied the White House was going to be present. So it was just like, it was really, you really had to be there. I was unable to attend the session. I did want to go up there to see the session, and I'm also actually, and I'm glad that I wasn't able to, but I had to man the booth, so I wasn't able to actually go up there. But and then because a large part of it was because once you entered the room, you were unable to leave until the session ended. You know how that go with security and those type of things. So I didn't want to go up there and get stuck in there and couldn't leave out to, do my part at the booth. So I ended up just staying downstairs on the exhibit floor. But the room was full. The room was absolutely full. You had, a lot of mixed emotions about his presence. Some people felt like the national organization should have not given him a platform. Some people, understood the reasoning why. NABJ has always invited presidential candidates to come and speak at the convention. Sometimes they accept, sometimes they don't. And of course, he accepted, in his true fashion, accepted the invitation this year. And so it was a lot of mixed emotions around the convention. It definitely for the first day, and then people kind of began to shake it off and get into the spirit of convention after that.
Okay, so what were your takeaways from the convention? What did you see that we could use in Cleveland and do what we need to do to make this the success that the last one was?
Our biggest goal with this convention in Cleveland, from the perspective of Destination Cleveland as well as the local chapter, is to make sure that our out of town guests leave with a great impression of Cleveland. Cleveland comes with a lot of stereotypes or misconceptions or what have you. People have preconceived notions about what Cleveland is, and especially if they've never been there. So we really want people to leave Cleveland saying, wow, I didn't know Cleveland had this, or I didn't know that about Cleveland. The hospitality was great. I was able to find things to do, that sort of thing, and to really understand what it's like also to be Black and to be a journalist in Cleveland, and for those who may be looking for another opportunity or the first opportunity to consider Cleveland as a place to come and work.
Okay. We're going to shift gears and bring our friend Grady into the conversation. And I noticed a similarity between the two organizations because they both got GCLE in them. Greater Cleveland for the hundreds of Black men and for the Association of Black Journalists. Grady, what is 100 Black Men of Greater Cleveland about?
So the 100 Black Men of Greater Cleveland is part of the national organization, really international organization of 100 Black Men of America. And we stand on four primary pillars that we deliver programming, and a lot of our activity and our work centers around. Those activities are education, economic empowerment, health and wellness, and mentoring, which is where we really deploy the majority of our resources and our time in mentoring young boys. So we, through the work that we do a lot of work to ensure that our community, primarily the young people in our community, but really everyone, has access and awareness to programming, to resources, to other things that uplift and empower Black people here in Cleveland to do bigger and better things. One of the really spotlights and gems that we've launched this year is our Saturday Academy that takes place the third Saturdays at Tri-C Eastern Campus. And Dr. Basson and the 100 have partnered to deliver this program, which is a mini to few kind of model where it's not necessarily our older model of one-to-one mentoring, but in this model, we take anyone and everyone who's a young man between the ages of about 8 to 18 who can come on that Saturday and hear a wealth of different programs and activities. We talk about everything from college readiness to mental health awareness to what it means to be able to grow up in a city and understand what types of resources you need to take advantage of to put yourself in a position to be successful. You know, many of our young men in the city and all over this country, for whatever reason, grow up in households where they may not have a strong male role model or figure. And a lot of our moms, our caretakers, bring their young men out because they're looking for someone to stand in the gap, to help them understand what it means to be accountable, to be responsible, to take responsibility for their lives and for the lives of their families. So the 100 Black Men gather every third Saturday at Tri-C, and we deliver this program. It's all free. We deliver continental breakfast. We have robust programming, and then we go forth and we set about our activities. We also, because of the summertime, have some outdoor activities like we do first tee golf, exposing many of the young men to putting and golf skills. We also do fishing demonstrations where we partner with those who can teach the young men how to fish, the correct ways to go about fishing, as well as exposing them to rowing and other things that they may not necessarily get in their day-to-day lives, but again, are lifelong skills that can open doorways, introduce them to opportunities where there are scholarships or new communities where they can grow and thrive. The 100 has been a mainstay, and we recognize that, especially in this time in our nation's history right now, resources continuing to become shorter and shorter. And we recognize there's a big need in our community, whether they're the young men that we mentor, their families, or the wider community at whole. So we really want to be a resource and a one-stop gap when it comes to folks who have needs that need to be met and are crying out for help for their young men and sometimes even their young ladies to get the skills and the needs and the mentoring aspects to make them stronger and better citizens and have a brighter future.
Yes. You know, when you're talking about the four pillars and talking about the mentorship angle, I couldn't help but think, and I think Brother Antonio can appreciate this. And if you haven't considered it, I just want to give this to you as an idea. One of the biggest lacks that we have in the development and evolution of our young people is rites of passage. And what you're doing is kind of like rites of passage, because you're talking about giving young people a sense, or young men a sense, of their purpose in life and their function in society. Rites of passage programs do a phenomenal job of preparing young people for the next phase in life. So I'm hopeful that at some point, if you haven't thought about it, you might think about incorporating rites of passage. And I want to bring Brother Hamtonio into the conversation, just so that he can give us his perspective on the value of rites of passage and how it connects to our heritage as a people. Brother Hamtonio?
Yeah, definitely. I think, here I go again. I think that, all roads right at this point in junction where we are as Black people. Let's look at this thing where we are. We having these conversations. We've been having these constant conversations. We've been talking about our youth. We've been talking about leadership. We've been talking about economic pillars and working together and coming together. Over the years, a lot of tradesmen been talking about doing things with our youth. And on the other side with Sister Rhonda, we've been talking about, we got our journalists, we got, people producing documents and things that is much needed in our community. But right now, I think, all paths should be pointed towards developing who and what we are. Because as we look and see what's around us right now, people are trying so hard to strip this down and take a lot of that information about who we are, what we are, and what we're about, and trying to discard it. So I think I always go back to what Dr. Leonard Jeffrey said up in New York. Whatever programs that you're doing right now, just Africanize it. You've Africanized it, because I think there's a wealth of information, a wealth of knowledge, and a wealth of things that our young folks can get into that would accentuate and amplify, that DNA that is in them that they need to have come out, especially in this critical times that we're in right now. So I think all roads, that's the path and the journey that I'm on. All the roads should lead to that. And then I would suggest too, and what you're probably already doing, I'm just, probably situating what you're doing, but having these youth on projects, on community, putting them on these community projects that kind of amplify what I just mentioned. You know what I mean? Just for example, we had a few shows ago, we had Brother Obi Shelton. We had Brother Obi Shelton in talking about the cultural gardens and their quest to try to get that garden together. And it would be the most a wonderful garden, and probably the best one out there if we ever get there. So I'm saying, what would be a good mentorship for that? What these youth can do to help further that particular program, that is something that is necessary for us as a Black community. I'm sure you're putting them on programs that accentuate those type of things, so, but I'm just giving more examples and trying to maybe find and look at different programs that is out there that would give them that community warmth, that community necessity that is tying them down, that is building on that encouragement on how important that that their community is to them. And that is one of the things also that rites of passage would do. That it would give them a direction. It would give them something to sink their teeth in, and helping out as far as the community is concerned, and giving them a cause and a purpose of who they are, what they are, and what their commitment is to the community. So I think all roads at this particular point should be leading, in this critical time, as far as being Black and Black youth, because those youth can easily, in my profession, being a ex-police officer or retired police officer, look at what's going on here, and the climate that is out there right now for them to easily go the other way it's out there. When I kids street takeovers, the dirt bikes and things of that nature. So we have to step up and amplify, what we're doing to counteract some of that. So and have these youth to, be able to take pride in what they in their community, and we got to bring back some of that. And then there's something that I wrote about. We got to, when you see those youth out there, I'm talking to the community and everybody right now. When you see those youth out there, acknowledge them. If you see them doing something good, acknowledge those youth. You let them know, hey, I see what you're doing, and to let them know that folks are watching, and that is positive, what you're doing, and to encourage them to keep that type of flavor going on, and maybe it can spread out to some of their friends and things like that.
So I want to, and thank you for that, Brother Hamtonia. I want to just say to Grady that what you're doing for our young brothers is so important. I mean, the sisters do an extremely good job of lifting each other up, looking at each other's needs. And when you look at the folks who were doing in Cleveland, it's the sisters. So to have brothers step up and say, well, we got to do what we can for young men is commendable, necessary. So what I just shared with you was something that could perhaps even raise the bar to that effort. But when you talk about the 4 pillars, could you go a little bit more into some of the other ways that you're reaching our young men?
Sure, most definitely. So when we talk about those pillars again of education, economic empowerment, health and wellness, and mentoring, our resources go full bore into these areas. For education, we bring in educators, people like Kathy Primes, who runs a tutoring program in the city and many CMSD schools. And we talk about what it means to matriculate and get ready to have a post high school career, whether you're going on to college, learning a trade, whatever you're preparing for. What are the kinds of things you need to be doing as a student right now in school, and how to get resources to come into your life, whether they be through the school, through the libraries, reaching out for tutoring and other things that our young people sometimes don't avail themselves to. In well-resourced areas, many of these things come naturally, but our young people and our families need to be made aware that education can always, and it's available, but it may not always be in the shape or the size that you can it'll just knock on your door and it's there placed before you. Sometimes you got to go out and many times fight for it, but an educational right is something that we all have access to. So again, for a lot of them who do go on to college or post-secondary schools, how do you get money for school? A lot of times school is unattainable because it's so expensive these days. But there's still ways to get scholarships, to get grants, and to do as much as we can to minimize loans so that those who do want to go on to get a college education can get that. And there's many options, whether they be HBCUs or PWIs or whatever. There's a lot of ways to get that education, which is oftentimes the best way to lead and change one's life and trajectory. Then going on to economic empowerment, we educate our young people on what it means to be able to save and to invest, to understand what generational wealth looks like. We just took a group of young people, about 5 young men, to New Orleans, all expense paid, to our national conference. And a team of young men competed in the State Farm finance contest, where they studied all the different types of ways to invest money, to make money grow, and most importantly, let money work for you while you sleep. Because if you're not making money while you sleep, you will work for the rest of your life. And those types of skills and embodiment are very important for us to bestow upon our young people so that they can break cycles of poverty and begin to understand what it means to save and have generational wealth that it can be passed down from one generation to the next, and how the stock market and other financial instruments of investment can really work for them. Then we move on to health and wellness, and we've partnered with Dr. Modlin many times in his minority men's health fairs, but we bring all kinds of experts to the table to talk about the true and probably the most important thing when we talk about wealth is your health. Because if you don't have your health, if you're not alive, you can't enjoy anything else, nor are you any good to anybody. So what it means to take care of your bodies, this past most recent Saturday Academy, we brought a mental health expert in to talk about what it means to be a young Black man here in Cleveland, and from a from a mindset standpoint, from a mental health standpoint, to be mentally healthful, to understand that counseling and getting therapy is a good thing. In our community, we may not talk about it a lot, we may not promote it a lot, but it's not only okay, but it's encouraged that the young men have someone they can talk to about anything, whether that person's in their house, a teacher, one of the mentors in the 100, or a trained or licensed professional, but having mental health and feeling positive in their outlooks, who their friends are, who they associate themselves with, is very, very important. And we cannot stress enough about the physical and the mental aspects, because those are truly the things that will sustain us in the long term. And last but not least is the mentoring part. And I'm so glad that Brother Antonio talked about those rites of passage, because I had the blessing of working years ago with Mr. Paul Hill, who's one of the pillars in our community around rites of passage. So we really want to talk and to pour into these young men that they do have bright futures and they do have responsibilities. And just as we're helping them today, someday we hope that they are strong enough and have means enough to reach back and help others. Because I always preach and I tell everybody, nobody's coming to save us. Nobody's coming to save our community but ourselves. So it's incumbent upon everyone to get strong, to do their best, to pour into these young people, and to show them that a mentor may not necessarily be a blood relative or someone in your immediate household or family, but there's surrogates and there's people who care about them and want to ensure that not only our community, but our race, our people, and the families and the people to come have connections and linkages that are not broken, that are not destroyed by administrations or negative thought or people who just wish us harm, but that we're people, with rich heritage who are here for a purpose. And everybody has God-given talents that's important for us to live to their fullest. So those are the things that we really fixate our time and our energy around, and really lift up to hopefully transform these young men and many times young ladies.
Yes. Well, Grady, as you mentioned all the things that you're doing, it's obvious to me that you're really taking a holistic approach in dealing with a complete person. I really like what you said when you pointed out that the mantra of the economic piece, and that is you want your money to work for you and not you to work for your money. That's really been the secret to how the 1% has been able to maintain their stranglehold in terms of control of all of us. So one of the biggest issues that we deal with as a community is that we don't save and we don't invest. And we talk about this on this program all the time. We have to make better decisions when it comes to what we do with our money. And we have to understand that you don't get your self-esteem from buying that $300 pair of Nike sneakers. You get your self-esteem by understanding who and what you are, what you're supposed to be doing, and living in your purpose. And if we can convey that to these young men and get them to understand that you can do more in life than be a basketball player or be a rapper on a stage. There's so many other things that we have, gifts and talents that allow us to do what we do. So again, hats off to 100 Black men for stepping up and taking on the mantle of doing what they have to do to raise our brothers in this community. Rhonda, I want to turn to you.
Before you go, Vince, it's a good point. I just want to put it, not a point, but I just want to our good brother Grady there. I just wanted to let you know I'm president of the Police Retirees Association, ALIRA. African American Law Enforcement Retirees. I'm president of. So with your youth that you have, or if you ever have anything that you might think that we could be useful of, we was talking about doing some things with mentorship and going out and talking into some of the schools and some of the youth and things of that nature. If it's something that you think that we could fit in as being retired police officers and coming and talk to the youth or talking to them about the law or whatever. In that perspective, please, you can reach out to me and I can present it to the organization, and we can maybe collaborate on something that that could be powerful as well. And just to boot, as far as our youth and talent, that what I always said, that we have to get to the point too of not just letting our youth go out to the sharks. We got to prepare them. Why? Our talented ones, the ones that we know that may turn out to be something, or it's just our youth in general. When we get them together in groups, we got to start preparing them mentally for what's out there. And because I'm just so sick and tired of just I always use this example like Ginn Academy. Now he does well with those youths and they bring them out, but when they get out of his grips, who have them now? You know what I mean? Who's responsible for them now? And they getting all the fluff out there, and a lot of times they don't look back to their community. So we should be inbred into them youth, especially our talented ones, their purpose and their commitment back to the youth. I mean, to the community. While they're young there, so that when they get to a certain status, that they remember and know what their role in their job is. So we can't keep prepping our youth and then letting them go out there to the sharks and they misuse them and they forget where they come from and who they're about.
Yeah, and this is kind of a tangent, but I kind of illustrates the point of what Brother Antonio is saying. When you get professional athletes and they get to the next level, let's say they're one of the 1% of all of those who compete in college sports that get to the professional level. When they get to the professional level, the sharks come in. The agents, they set up attorneys, they set up accountants, they set up all their folks, and they profit on these young men. And because they didn't have any financial literacy or awareness, they get taken advantage of. So that's one of the reasons that it's so important to prepare our young people before they get on to the next stage, so that they're equipped with the information that provide them with success and not allow them to be exploited. So I want to move things over to journalism, because one of the reasons that this organization exists is to cultivate the next generation of journalists. So Rhonda, could you talk about what GCLEABJ is doing and what the National Association of Black Journalists is doing to reach out to young people and get them into the field and get them prepared for success within that industry?
So, NABJ and NABJ local chapters have been the Urban Journalism Workshop. That has been a long-running program of NABJ. Cleveland, we've had several iterations of NABJ chapters. Our most recent one, the one that is alive and active right now, is just about 13 years old. But we had a very active urban journalism workshop here in this community, and there are a number of active working journalists who went through that program as young people, as high school students, and then went into the industry. So we have not fully reactivated Urban Journalism Workshop in the sense of what it used to look like, but we are beginning to reimagine what Urban Journalism Workshop can look like in this day and age. We have partnered with Cleveland.com, Advanced Local, Cleveland.com, Cleveland Plain Dealer to host the Media Academy. It runs every winter from January about the second week of January to the first week of March. It's an 8-week program where high school students come in as trained on the principles of journalism, are allowed the opportunity to produce articles, stories, video, all those things, especially, as journalism has evolved beyond print, TV, radio. So they're learning about journalism from active working professionals. Some retired professionals as well come back. So we're really excited about that and want to continue to do that. We also, as a chapter, have been sending college students to the convention every year. We're sending more students to the convention this year because it is in Cleveland. So we're really excited about that. There is also opportunity at the convention. They have a program called J Shop, where high school students can come and work, learn about the journalism, and work during the convention during those days to produce stories. And then there's also program for college students as well. So as you said, it's really about cultivating that next generation of Black journalists.
Okay. In addition to those that we have the existing journalists. So
yes.
we're dealing with them as well. Talk about some of the things that GCLEABJ does for those of us who are long in the tooth and have been around for a while.
I think the biggest aspect of having a local chapter, what I've seen, is just really creating a space where active working seasoned journalists can come and be Black, especially for the ones who work in mainstream media outlets, and there may be very few of them in their outlets, or they can't always, really express what's on their mind and how they feel, particularly about the things that they're covering. So our meetings have oftentimes, shifted from, us managing the business of the organization to just really be in a place where people can just say freely how they feel about certain things, whether it's a particular story and how it's being covered, to how Black journalists are being treated in these media outlets, where there are little to no representation in the leadership. That is still a huge problem to this day. And media outlets, I think even today, Black journalists make up less than 10% of newsrooms across the country, even to this day. And I'll never forget when I was at the convention in Birmingham, one of the older seasoned she was a reporter. She was actually a producer, a news director. She has since retired. And she said that she asked the question to other Black news directors, like, how many of us are there? And there was like a pause, a deafening pause. And the response was somewhere like 12. And she was like, no, we have to change this. Because when you think about perception, right? How media shapes public perception, and who are the decision makers determining what's news? It is not us. We're the faces in front of the camera. We're behind the cameras. We're the reporters, maybe, writing the reports and that sort of thing. But it's very few of us that is in those meetings making the decisions on what's going to be at the top of the news hour, or what's above the fold on the newspaper, or what stories will we continue to follow.
Yeah. As I'm thinking about this upcoming convention and reflecting on how things have changed so much within the industry, whether it be the print media, whether it be the broadcast media, there are things that we probably need to have conversations with each other on how we can continue to thrive and survive. Once upon a time, there were so many of us that were working for the Plain Dealer, for example. And then they went through all the changes that they did, and folks like Afi Scruggs and others basically got booted out, so we have to adapt to the changes in technology, the way things are being done. Back in the day, a reporter would go out to do a story. There would be a broadcast truck, there'd be an engineer, you had all this stuff going on. Now you see reporters going out, they set up the camera, they shoot the interview, they go back to the station. In some cases, they might even edit the package, put that together, and this is all in the interest of those who are running the show to save money, because instead of paying 3 people or paying a whole team of folks, you got one person doing all these different things. So, we have to have conversations with each other on what we can do to maximize our effectiveness in the industry and to be able to survive. But the other thing, and perhaps the most important thing to me, is the idea of us being together. For us, because we have something in common that kind of is a bond between us. And it's okay for everybody else to come together and have their own organizations. But then when we do it, all of a sudden, oh, wait a minute, y'all being exclusionary, but you being exclusionary when you have that club on Murray Hill that we can't get into. And
keeping in mind that that's how a lot of these organizations started, is because we were not allowed into, and then now, they're using the reverse on us. Oh, you're being discriminatory because you're Black.
Yes.
Well, you wouldn't let us into the, white association, whatever that might be for journalists, so forth and so on.
Yeah. But something else that you alluded to in your comments a few moments ago, Rhonda, is the importance of us being in the newsroom so we can shape the nature of the news that comes out to the community. If we're not there to advocate for the things that are important and the things that, based on our cultural perspective, need to be amplified, then we get squeezed out of the headlines, we get squeezed out of the coverage for certain things. And the things that we're doing, just like this convention, just like what 100 Black men are doing in Greater Cleveland, those things get swept under the rug. And people don't have an awareness of the ways in which we as a people are taking on our issues. It's not just about reacting to certain people in high places like Washington and the White House. It's really about us being aware of the needs that we have in our community and addressing those needs, because if we don't take care of ourselves, no one else will. We've been in a society that has tried to exclude us on so many different levels, but at the same time has enjoyed the benefit of the success that comes from our labor, our intellectual capital, and all the other contributions that we make. So if we're not telling the story, and this is just bringing it back to the importance of the narrative. When we control the narrative, then we control perception. When we allow others to control the narrative, then they control perception. And that's one of the ways that we get demonized. We just have a few moments left in our broadcast, and I just want to make sure that we drive the point home about this convention, about this golf outing, so that folks can show up and have the good time that they will have. Again, Highland is a great golf course. It's been historically Black for a long time. We got gentrification kicking in. You got that big new apartment building there at the corner of Van Aken and Farnsley. And I'm sure if the powers that be have their way, they're going to fill up that golf course. But this is our place, and we got to keep that place. Lynn and I have enjoyed playing golf on that course for so many years, and we got to keep this. So let's get back to this great golf outing and letting the folks know what they can do to participate in the outing. And I'll let you lead that conversation, Rhonda.
Many levels you can support as an individual golfer. You can put together a foursome. You can come just for dinner. There's those options. There is sponsorship opportunities that are still available. Whole sponsorships that's available, in-kind donations, in terms of items that we may be able to put in gift bags and things like that. So there are many ways that people can support the golf outing. I think that it is very important that the proceeds go to support 100 Black men of Greater Cleveland, as well as the Greater Cleveland Association of Black Journalists. And when you really think about that, these will be unrestricted funds for both of these organizations who do not have paid staff. Grady can attest to it. The 100 Black men board members and, and the work that the members do, they don't get paid for that. Same thing with Greater Cleveland Association of Black Journalists. So the dollars don't go to support somebody's salary or anything like that. These are both fully 100% volunteer organizations. So these funds that we receive from the golf outing, and other events allow us to really do the work that, speaks to our missions.
All right. And Grady, Is there anything you'd like to add to that?
I just wanted to echo and follow up with what Rhonda just said. It's going to be an action-packed day with golf, fellowship. We're going to have obviously a dinner served and a fashion show. So David Ford will be premiering a line of clothing around golf and leisure. So there's really going to be something for everybody. We want you to come on out, enjoy, have fun, take part. There's something literally for everyone, and registration will begin that morning at 8 a.m. and we will begin actually teeing off at 9 a.m. And there's a wealth of ways you can sign up. Obviously, you can go to the 100 Black Men of Greater Cleveland website. I'm sure Rhonda has a website as well where there's a QR code and registration links. But it's very easy to sign up. We need you to come out to support us because really, as Rhonda said, all of our work is poured back into the community, into young people, and to people who are aspiring journalists, and to people who look like us. So we really do need and would appreciate Cleveland to come out, support, and have a great time on Sunday, August the 3rd.
Okay,
what do golf do best? Network. Come on out and network. That's what golf do.
We're going to put a link to both websites, GCLEABJ and 100 Black Men of Greater Cleveland. That will go into the description for this video. So if you're looking for links, you'll be able to get them there. Brother Antonio, we just have just a few moments left in the broadcast. So I know you want to mention the ball that's going to take place tomorrow night.
Yes, come out to the Taste of African Ball tomorrow at the Mediterranean Party Center from 6 to 11. Tickets are $25. Single, couple 45. We have African food, the drumming, dancing, and socializing, and like minds who wants to experience the culture and golfing the culture. That's what it's about. A little taste of Africa.
All right.
323-6155.
Okay, don't forget, we're going to have percussion and poetry at Larchmere Arts next Saturday at 7 o'clock. We got Elijah Gilmore, who's going to be playing percussion. I will be playing percussion on the piano, and we got Irie Vish, who will be our featured poet. Rhonda, I know you know Irie because she was at Adam's party back during the wintertime. So she's going to be our featured poet. And we're also going to gear up for the Larchmere Cultural Arts Festival, so stay tuned for that. Big ups to our engineer, Tone Harley, for making this broadcast possible. And most of all, thank you for tuning in to 360 Info Network. As always, know yourself, love yourself, be yourself, make today your absolute best day, Cleveland and the rest of the world. Peace, y'all.
Peace, peace. Okay.